that they had to go to migrate to the north, which is here in Tijuana area, or the north of Mexico, not necessarily into the U.S.
Nueva supervivencia.
They had to find a new life.
Venimos del Valle de San Quintín.
They come from the Valley of San Quintín,
Usted, señor presidente de México,
a place that you, President of Mexico, have visited many times.
sobre todo conoce muy bien la situación.
And you understand our situation very well.
Le pedimos que reciba
And
la
we ask you
solidaridad
that you accept our solidarity and indigenous people of
representa el sentir de los mexicanos
Mexico.
y representa
They
la
represent
legitimidad defensa de la dignidad de nuestra
the
nación,
legitimate defense of the dignity and the request for
tan necesaria
friendship.
es estos momentos de cambio rápidos, acelerados y también
and these
profundos.
times of change
Por ese
accelerated.
motivo, los pueblos
And for
indígenas
this reason,
estamos
the
aquí,
indigenous people
presentes
of
con
Mexico are here present with
Aquí
you.
estamos.
Here we are.
Así como nuestros paisanos,
Just like our other countrymen,
también nuestros antepasados tuvieron
and also in the
en el
past,
movimiento de la independencia,
and the ancestors in the time of independence, reform, and Mexican independence. Now we're accompanying you with a fourth transformation
tan necesaria para nuestro país,
that is very necessary for our country,
en particular,
in
para
particular
las zonas más
for the
abandonadas
areas
por el
most
llamado desarrollo
abandoned by
civilizatorio.
so-called civilized
En
development.
nuestra experiencia como
In
pueblos
our
indígenas,
experience
de
as
este y
indigenous
otro lado
people,
de la frontera,
from this side and the other side of the border, that dialogue and words are the best way to reach an agreement. And that's the message that we want to give, to transmit to society and to the government that's present here. We'd like to express here the message of fraternity and brotherhood with the people of U.S., especially and the ones here, that live next to us and especially along the whole border, that we share a common history and we have the same necessities with those people and those towns that have our people, and that from one day to another were separated due to a border being placed. Yesterday, that they suspended the tariffs in the next few days. That's a very clear proof of that the good friendly neighbor relationship isn't done with threatening, and that we have been friends for many years. And that's why we are here together, that the government of the U.S., the Mexico, is together to support us with respect and dignity. All that we are here joined together recognize that we are all here together with those that have come. And we understand that the contribution of all has been for the growth of both nations. Those 3 kilometers of border it should be as it is many kilometers of friendship. Because the borders, these are spaces that are consecrated between us and our God, and that it's a place where we can have friendship with our neighbors.
Los pueblos indígenas pensamos que
The indigenous people believe that we should get to know each other, each other like this in this or any other border, and to appreciate our cultural differences and linguistic differences, and and to affirm our human unity. And as affirmed here, we reiterate to the U.S. that we invite you to come visit us and see us and get to know us and we will accept you without distinction. And to finalize, she's reiterating the words of the President Benito Juarez of Mexico, a universal Mexican, that said in his discourse his discourse of the 15th of July in 1967,
los poderes de la Unión. Que el pueblo y el gobierno respeten los derechos de
that the people and the government should respect the rights of everyone, from the people and from the nations, because respecting other people's right is peace.
Por eso,
and that's why
aquí,
here,
desde la frontera norte,
from the northern border,
extendemos nuestra mano
we extend our friendly handshake, and we say yes to dialogue, yes to dignity, and yes to peace. Good. Thank you. So apparently they like that very much. So she gave him a little gift. Then another man's gonna talk now. When you are strengthened because of the rise, the arguments finally convinced that we needed to have the support of our whole society around the president. We couldn't have a better than to look at that flag that unites us all, that it feels to uncover us, all of the Mexicans, that we be joined in causes that are just, that we should do everything that we should do. Today we learned two lessons. The first was to remember that when Mexicans are reunited and we support each other, when we work together, we always win. We can always develop into a stronger country. And that's why we should remember this time as a time of we all win because we're around you, the president, but also next to this flag that reunites all Mexicans, that covers all of us. Second lesson, to look forward, to always be strong and combat the problems of our country. Nobody's going to do us favors. We each have to win them. We should not expect anything from anybody except our own dedication. The business people are surrounding you. And we want a Mexico that will eradicate poverty, and these faces should have smiles and happiness, and that we should do what we could construct together in our country. That here where we should work together to do what's best for everyone, most prosperous, and we should all win. That's the second lesson, that with this heat that we are left with. I appreciate that you invited me to this reunion, and I'm happy to have helped to put the business people next to you and to construct the Mexico we all dream of. And I'm very enormously satisfied to be here in the northern border, that it's more than that is a border that separates us, but it also is a place where we can all unite. And on the other side, they can see us here, happy, satisfied, but around a great leader. And I appreciate I was invited, to have been invited.
Gracias, Presidium. Podemos tomar asiento.
They said you could take
Escuchemos
your seat.
enseguida al líder de la Confederación de Trabajadores de México, Carlos Acevedo.
Carlos Acevedo is the leader of the Association of Workers, and he's going to be talking next.
Al representante de la comunidad evangélica, Arturo Favela.
Arturo Favela is the representative. I'm sorry I missed it. What he's a representative. Maybe he'll repeat it.
Muy buenas tardes,
Good
señor
afternoon,
presidente
Mr.
Andrés
President.
Manuel López Obrador. Muy buenas tardes, distinguidos miembros del Presidium.
Distinguished members of the
a todas y a
Presidium.
todos ustedes, las
Good
iglesias
afternoon to
cristianas
all.
evangélicas aglutinadas en la Confraternidad Nacional de Iglesias Cristianas Evangélicas.
Evangelical churches came to give you unconditional support to the President of Mexico, because in the U.S. it's a nation that's got Christian principles that are biblical, that formed the Union of the Americans, that were Quakers sent from out of England, people of principles and values, and they came to plant the seed of the Word of God in this great nation. And that's why it says it's on the dollar, in God we trust. I want to say to the committee of the federal government, all of us that are headed and did that they did an extraordinary job, and that many people had very little hope that they would be successful, and that the next, we expected to be in a crisis on Monday, where they were going to start to ask 5% with these tariffs that have been announced. But we are thankful to God that made them, that He put order in the government of the United States and the government of Mexico. they went with a fundamental principle, which is justice, which is social justice. And what is social justice? Social justice has two main principles. One, fundamentally on doing the truth. Number two, so equality. And both teams of negotiators, U.S. and Mexico, spoke with the truth, and they said what they needed to do to not destroy and hurt each other, nor Mexico, neither Mexico nor the U.S. But instead, these two great nations can work as two brother nations, that by the grace of God, we have principles and values the same way, that transform lives, that make new men and women and family and people. Justice makes a nation great. And with these justice principles, I believe that both delegations of Mexico and U.S. exercised during these negotiations that we certainly had no expectation, but with faith they went, the representatives of Mexico, and we want to give them an applause for recognition that they were able to, that there won't be tariffs in Mexico on Monday. We feel, Mr. President, proud of the social justice that the fourth transformation is, that is being applied. This is the principle that is from the most, okay. So principle justice that he heard from a wise man: open your mouth and speak of the justice of man and the poor and of the downtrodden. And we're proud of you, Mr. President, that not only the people, as you say, first the poor, but also the children that are not cared for, and the widows, and the elderly, and the youth, and then the field workers. We're so proud for this social justice that the fourth transformation has been bringing forward with all the social programs that you've headed, and that in Mexico, that in this moment, we are suffering this wonderful transformation that is marvelous, that is founded on these principles of justice. And justice makes the nation great. And we're proud of you and your whole cabinet, because you are not ashamed by the strangers or foreigners. And if we don't take care of the foreigners, we don't get that if you don't help the one that is orphaned or widowed, and due to ambition for yourself, the fourth transformation that he's given to the 125 million Mexicans. And he said, for the poor, the children, the elderly that you're protecting, may God bless Mexico.
Gracias, Presidium. Escuchemos al defensor de derechos humanos, Padre Solalinde.
Father Solalinde is a defender of human rights, and he's next to speak.
Muy buenas tardes a todas y a todos.
Good afternoon, you
Buenas
all,
tardes a todos los habitantes de México.
and to the inhabitants of Mexico, citizens or not.
Gracias y bienvenidos a todos los
Thank you,
las autoridades
and
de los tres
you're
niveles de gobierno.
welcome to also
Especialmente,
to all the levels of
saludo
government
con
that are
mucho
here.
cariño a mi hermano Andrés Manuel López Obrador.
Oh, he's the brother of Andrés Manuel López Obrador. He salutates him because he's making history.
También
I also
decirles que
want to say
México
that
es un
Mexico
espacio bendito y maravilloso,
is a space
bendecido por una
that's
gran señora que es la Virgen de Guadalupe.
that is protected by the
Muchas
Mother,
cosas, desgraciadamente, nos han dividido,
the Virgin.
pero aquí estamos
Many
para
things have
unirnos.
divided us, but here we are to be joined. It's an expression
Queremos
of
ser
hope.
participantes, actores
We want to
de
be
una nueva vida
participating
para México.
actors of a new
Venimos
life for
cargando
Mexico.
con muchos lastres,
We are
venimos
carrying
cargando
lots
con
of
muchas divisiones, con mucha
divisions
diversidad mala
and
que nos
weights,
ha confrontado.
and division bad that
Hoy
has
tenemos
caused
la
us
oportunidad
problems. And
no
today
solo
we
de
have the
expresar de
opportunity
palabra nuestra adhesión
not
a
only to
un
express by
gran
word
presidente,
to
sino
our
queremos demostrar
a
con
great
hechos
president
que de veras queremos cambiar México.
that we really
Todas
want
y
to
todos
change
tenemos que
Mexico.
poner algo de nuestra
We
parte.
all have to put in something on our
México no
part.
estaría completo en esta
Mexico would not be
transformación integral
complete
si no
in this
pusiéramos lo que
integral
nos toca
transformation
para
if we didn't do
fortalecer
our
la
own part
espiritualidad que
to
tanto
fortify
ha
the spirituality
pregonado y tanto
that
ha insistido nuestro
has
presidente
been
al
calling
hablar
out and
de
insisting
esta
to us
revolución de la conciencia
this
que tiene
to
también
go to this
ese
revolution
nivel
of
maravilloso de la ética.
consciousness and
Tenemos
that
que
also
ser
is
una nación
ethical,
ética.
that we will
Yo
be
quiero
a
dirigirme
country that's
a
ethical. We
todas
need
las
to be.
feligresías cristianas, sobre todo,
I
y no
want to say
cristianas,
to all the Christians and
dirigirme también
non-Christians,
a las feligresías que luchan por manifestar y expresar su fe en la vida
that
diaria. Nuestro país está
our
pasando por una
country is
situación
going through a
muy
situation
difícil.
that is very
Hemos
difficult.
estado viviendo las presiones
And we have been
no
living
solo
with
de
the
una
pressures,
persona,
not only
sino
of
sobre todo
one
de un
life, but of
sistema
a whole
neoliberal
system
capitalista
that is
que adora el
neoliberal
dinero, que
and
adora
loves
el
money,
mercado.
adores money,
Ese
and
es su
adores the
verdadero
market. That is its
Nosotros
true
creemos, en
God.
cambio,
And
que
on
creemos
the
en la
other hand,
persona, en el ser
we
humano.
believe in
Hoy
the
estamos viendo
human.
cómo del sur viene esta crisis humanitaria de
We
hermanos y
understand that the
hermanas nuestras.
crisis,
México no le va a dar la espalda. Hemos tratado de salir de
Mexico
ese
will not
trance,
turn their
pero
backs on
tenemos la gran
anybody.
oportunidad
And we have the
de
great
incidir
opportunity
en la verdadera solución.
to
que
be
es el
involved in the
desarrollo
true
integral.
solution,
Hoy
which is
queremos
the
hacer presente
integral
una gran
development.
persona que tiene que
We
ser
have
referente
a
para este cambio.
present
Esta persona es Jesús
person,
de Nazaret. Es
the
ella
Jesus
la que nos
of
va
Nazareth.
a ayudar, la que nos va a guiar para que de verdad construyamos ese reino que Él quiere.
that
Nuestro presidente
for us to
y
gain
también
that
nuestros
kingdom.
hermanos de los pueblos originarios han hablado de algo maravilloso.
the president has been talking about something marvelous, dialogue.
Nuestro presidente ha
We
dicho
haven't been
diálogo,
using it
y
much.
esto es
Our
diálogo,
president
siempre
says
diálogo.
dialogue,
El diálogo
always
es el
dialogue.
sacramento del reino
Because
de Dios,
dialogue
donde
is the
tenemos que
sacrament
hacer la
of the
revolución
people of
es en
God.
dos espacios,
Where we have to do our
conciencia,
revolution is in
para
two
que de
places,
verdad con la verdad sea
conscience,
libre,
because so you can be free with the truth,
las relaciones donde se juega exactamente
the
el
relations
futuro y
where
el
you
presente y el futuro de la
work
humanidad.
on the present and the
México ha dado un gran
future of
paso,
humanity.
ha salido librado de este diálogo, pero
Mexico
siempre vamos
has
a tener Wall Street,
taken a
siempre
great
vamos a
step,
tener
but
estos
we'll always
personas
have
que
Wall
buscan
Street
el interés del
and those
dinero.
people that are interested
A
in
cambio,
money. On the other
estamos
hand,
buscando esa amistad
we
de
are
pueblo a
looking for
pueblo,
friendship from
ese
people to people,
hermanamiento
town to
con el
town.
sur y con el norte.
It's
No
that
podríamos
we
estar
have togetherness
presentes
from the
en
north and the
México,
south.
somos una nación
We
que
couldn't
queremos
say we
cambiar,
were a
queremos
nation that wanted to
transformarnos,
change
si no es a través de las buenas relaciones.
if it wasn't through good relations.
Que me siento muy esperanzador
I tell you, I am very hopeful
de la
and
presencia de
proud
cada una de ustedes, de
of the
cada uno de
presence
ustedes.
presence
Y
of all
vamos a
of you.
pedirle a Dios
And
que
we
nos
ask
ayude a
God
lograr
to
esta
help us
transformación.
to
No va a
gain
ser
this
fácil, porque
transformation.
tenemos muchas
It
sinergias,
will not
pero
be
también tenemos
easy because we have
muchas
so many inertias,
resistencias,
but we do
porque
have lots of
desgraciadamente
resistances
hemos vivido una vida
because we've
desastrosa,
lived
pero hoy
such a
tenemos la
disastrous
oportunidad de
life.
unirnos
But today
para
we
lograr
have the
esta gran
opportunity
transformación.
to join
Las mujeres y
together
los
to
jóvenes,
bring
pero
forth
también
this
los pueblos
transformation.
originarios
The
son una
women,
reserva
the young
hermosísima
people
que nos
are
va a
a
ayudar a
reserve
cambiar
that will
México.
help us to
Hoy sabemos que
change
la
Mexico.
mitad de los
Today we
servidores y
know that
servidoras de
half of
México son mujeres.
that
Y
the
esto nos
workers
da a
in Mexico
nosotros una
are
gran esperanza,
women, and this gives us a
porque
great
no,
hope.
yo no estoy ventaneando a nadie,
Because I'm
pero
not
yo
just
creo
trying
que
to.
estamos muy cerca de tener quizás
I think we
la
are
primera
very
mujer
close to
presidenta
having
nacional. Ojalá
a-
que sí sea.
the
Muchas gracias.
first woman president, national president. I think it's possible.
Gracias, Presidium. Podemos tomar asiento.
So thank you. You can take your seats.
Escuchemos el mensaje del gobernador constitucional
Let's
del
listen
Estado
to
de
the
Querétaro y
message
presidente de
of
la
the
CONADE,
president.
Francisco Domínguez Servién.
Francisco Dominguez Ervin.
Licenciado Andrés Manuel López Obrador,
Licensed,
Presidente de los
I'm
Estados Unidos
sorry,
mexicanos.
attorney, president
Diputado
of the United States.
Porfirio Muñoz Ledo, presidente de la mesa directiva de la Cámara de Diputados de la 64 legislatura. Licenciado Francisco Arturo Vega, gobernador de Baja
He's
California.
naming all the
Jefa de
attorneys
gobierno,
and people,
jefa de gobierno de la Ciudad de México,
chief
gobernadora,
governor,
gobernadores de nuestro
governors
país.
of our people.
Maestro Carlos Salazar Lomelí, presidente del Consejo Coordinador Empresarial de México. Senadoras y senadores,
Senators,
diputadas federales, diputados
deputies,
federales,
federal
diputadas
and
locales,
state.
diputados locales,
So he's naming
funcionarios federales,
functionaries, federals,
estatales,
state,
municipales,
municipals,
señoras y señores.
men and women.
Hoy,
Today,
como en estos momentos,
as in these
la
moments,
historia,
history,
México
in
supo
Mexico,
plantarle la cara a los
Mexico
desafíos
knew how to put its face
y
to
superarlos.
confront the situation
En
and
representación de los 32 gobernadores del país a
get
expresar
out, do
un
well.
I'm
mensaje
having some trouble with the
categórico y
connection.
firme.
Please try again in a moment.
Cuando los mexicanos cerramos filas y nos enfocamos en las coincidencias más que en las diferencias, a nuestro
When the Mexicans get together and they coincide in what we have in common rather than the differences,
país le va mucho mejor.
it goes well, so much better for us.
De
Over the-
inquietud e
in the-
incertidumbre, el
in the-
gobierno de los Estados Unidos
In the hours of uncertainty and anxiety, the government of the United States
encontró a
found
un México fusionado.
a Mexico that was on its feet, that it was unbreakable.
Logramos hacer prevalecer
We
el interés
were able
nacional,
to prevail with the
prevaleció
national
el
interests,
diálogo,
and dialogue prevailed, intelligence
la sensatez.
and sensitivity,
Envía un
or being
poderoso
sane.
mensaje al
Mexico gave a message to the world
mundo que el respeto
that it's
supla la imposición
very
a la
important
imposición,
to
el
have
entendimiento a la
wisdom
desconfianza,
and understanding
y el
and
argumento
confidence
a la amenaza.
or trust,
Somos
and
defensores de
not
un
to
mundo
have
sin
threats and a world without any
barreras y
barriers
prejuicios.
and no ideals and
Los
prejudices.
mexicanos no
Mexicans
aceptamos muros
will
ni
not
de
accept
concreto,
borders or tariffs or walls. Let's remember always the ideas and the values. These are our only arms. We don't have any others. But there's nothing better than the principles, integration, dignity, and respect. Dialogue is to listen to the other, to attend to their preoccupations, and to listen to their arguments. Accept that which is correct and refuse that which doesn't affect you. No one in a negotiation wins everything or gives all. Negotiating without giving in is to be imposing, and the result would be that as now that Mexico will be better and stronger, more congruent, and has eliminated a threat. And if it had come through, it would have been very bad for us and affected us very forcefully. The best thing is that Mexico finds itself in unity, and we all share the pride of saying together always our national hymn and to salutate the flag. What joins us is the hope to live in happiness and liberty, and that the only thing we can have is cooperation, empathy, and respect. And we should not be divided and separated, but we should be united and connected. Yes, in our relations, we have good feelings or lots of good Mexicans, but also a lot of good North Americans. The respective politics of a good neighbor and alliance for progress, and the signing of the treaty for free commerce. A society is either just or it stops being a society. And we are social with the United States. We won't accept more and we won't expect more. We always expect our liberty to invest, export, and our freedom to guarantee that every Mexican home lives better. We want a region that of this North America is more prosperous, and that every table sits down in every home. We want a region that's respectful of democracy, of the law, and of human rights. A northern region that connects with an infrastructure, with value chains and lots of jobs, with good salaries, with a region that is synonymous with justice and well-being. We need to assure that Mexico has its place in the world, and also, but that the world finds a place in our country. The time of being an island has been left behind. This agreement came to an agreement because our president would put the interest of the nation instead or in front. And that we should forget our differences. To all of us, we're joined by a great love and a great pride that is Mexico. But this agreement was also gained because there are people in the U.S. that believe and feel the same as us. And we confirmed it. There is more friends of Mexico in the U.S. than people that are jealous of our fraternity. So today we called to them and to let them know that we want to continue to have a friendly and amiable relationship. The relationship between Mexico and U.S. is much more than profound. It's generous and dignified. That the relation between the governments change, but friendships don't. We know that the majority of U.S. people respect liberty, democracy, and justice. The governors will extend our to all the different areas that form an association that is firm, dignified, and solid. Today, Mexico is celebrating this here today in Tijuana, that we find ourselves united with one voice, that we were able to defend justice, liberty, and democracy. We are giving a recognition to the negotiating team for their firmness and their temperament during the committee, and also to show his appreciation for their solidarity and friendship and everything that unites all our nation. And at the same time, we recognize the efforts of our President, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, and of all the Mexican society that face this time of uncertainty. And the people in this place shows us that all of us can be unified. Thousands of Mexicans that love and protect our country. We're all part of the same party, Mexico. Together we will have nothing that will cause us problems. We hope that we will never have discrepancies that divide us when it comes to defending our country. Above all is the national interest. May justice and liberty live. May Mexico live.
Gracias, presidio. Podemos tomar asiento. Escuchemos el mensaje del diputado presidente de la Cámara de Diputados, Porfirio Muñoz Ledo.
The Deputy Porfirio Muñoz Ledo.
Y legisladores, muy querido pueblo.
Legislators and people of Tijuana.
Desde hace 100 años,
For 100 years,
tratados de Bucareli,
from the treaties of Bucareli, we hadn't had
accidentada por el gobierno,
by the government of the United
la
States
sustitución
the
del
substitution
lenguaje diplomático
of
por la procacidad,
diplomatic
el
language
cambio de un trato amistoso por la amenaza
and due to the threat that obligated us to reinforce our unity and the defense of our country, that the president has proposed.
Aspiramos
We
que al
aspire
final de este túnel
that at the end of this tunnel, our relation with the United States will be much better than what it is now. There have been moments that were very cordial and very fruitful, as the governor referred to the good friendship, the exporting of petroleum, and it took us to the Second War with the U.S. Now is a good day of celebration, but also we have to reflect in the time. We're living in a new historical time. This requires us to make economical blocks towards the world and effective. We can that it was hard to understand that Trump would try to destroy the good relationship by putting these tariffs. I want to refer to a principal theme. We cannot accept that the delegation say a bad thing. Immigration is a right. And that all international borders. Also, we cannot accept the language of lies. If they don't want dialogue without options, that means they would have no intention of coming to an agreement. They know that we have the strength of reason, and they have the reason with force. Two reflections. More than 5 million North American workers depend on commercial exchange. It's clear that one country cannot exist without the other, with their interdependence. The proof is this frontal border, where we have the biggest crossing of people in the whole planet. Also, there exists the right to not the creation of so that you could create jobs so that people don't have to go to other areas to work. Mexico has confided for a very long time in the solution bilateral for both our countries. Although we could have gone to the Commerce National or Supreme Court of the United Nations. But I want to say the way that the route that we've taken is the best. And I want to say that we should never be threatened or blackmailed. And what is in my criterion and immoral and is to have double-edged sword between the North and the South. On one end, we ask for them to open the door, and then we close the door for the Central Americans in order to do a favor for the U.S.
En la mejor atenuante
In
del
the
éxodo
in
es
the
la elevación
Exodus
sustantiva y progresiva de
is
las
a,
condiciones de vida mediante el aumento sustantivo de los salarios. En eso
so he says that the best way is to increase the salaries in order to make them be able to support themselves.
seguimos con los que hemos tenido
Those that we have had
50 años
50
las
years,
mejores relaciones.
good
Ellos
relations,
representan
they represent
nuestra historia y aspiración.
our history and aspirations.
México es una
Mexico
nación
is a nation
que trasciende sus fronteras.
that
De hecho,
opens
hay
its
países, varias
borders,
y naciones en varios estados.
and
Jamás
they have lots of
podríamos abandonar a nuestros compatriotas. Ellos son
in
también
different
una
states,
réplica
and we
de
cannot
los bajatecanos, de los queretanos. Nuestras autoridades
and our authorities of the states have taken care
veo el mantenimiento
the,
de vínculos y solidaridad.
of solidarity.
Tenemos una patria grande.
We have a great land
Ahí donde se encuentre
that will continue to exist where there's a Mexican.
la gran nación mexicana. Que
May the
vivan
great
nuestros
nation
compatriotas
Mexican live,
del exterior.
and let our compatriots of the other countries of the north, and may our neighborhood live.
Podemos tomar asiento, gracias, presidente. Ahora, damas y caballeros, escuchemos el mensaje que nos dirige el presidente constitucional de
Now
los
the
Estados
President
Unidos
of
Mexicanos,
the United Mexican
licenciado Andrés
States,
Manuel López
Uh,
Obrador.
Attorney Luis Andrés Manuel López Obrador,
Amigas, amigos,
friends, male and female,
de Tijuana,
of Tijuana,
de Baja California,
of Baja California,
de México
of Mexico,
y de Estados Unidos.
and from the United States.
Representantes del
Representatives
Poder Legislativo,
of the legislative power
ciudadanos gobernadores,
and citizen
Gobernadora,
governments and governors
jefa de gobierno,
and chief of governor,
servidores públicos,
public
municipales,
servants, municipal,
estatales y federales,
state, and federal,
representantes de comunidades
representatives
indígenas,
of indigenous communities,
de campesinos, obreros.
of workers.
Carlos Salazar, representante,
Carlos Salazar
presidente del
is
Consejo
president
Coordinador Empresarial,
of the coordinator of business,
representantes de las
representatives
iglesias,
of the churches,
libres pensadores,
free thinkers,
migrantes,
migrants,
amigas y amigos todos.
friends, male and female,
Estados
all.
Unidos y México,
United States and
No
Mexico
vecinos distantes,
are not distant neighbors.
Comparten una frontera
They share a border
de 3.180
of
kilómetros de largo.
1,180
Ejercen una
kilometers length,
influencia cultural mutua.
and we have a mutual
Y las historias nacionales
social
de nuestros países
And-
están
and
entrelazadas
countries'
en
histories and
numerosos
social
episodios
are
de
in
hostilidad, pero también
wait they're intertwined in situations of hostility, but also in
de cooperación y
cooperation
entendimiento.
and understanding.
El gran
The great
zarpazo
situation
de
of
1847
1847
y las intervenciones
and the
del
interventions
siglo XX
of the
en nuestro territorio
20th century in our
de otros
territory
agravios
and
han tenido una
other
contraparte en
aggravations
la amistad
have had a
entre
bad
gobiernos
example
y la fraternidad
situation, a
de
bad,
los pueblos.
it was a bad outcome for the friendship between our governments
Pueblos de ambas naciones.
of both nations.
Por ejemplo,
For example,
el presidente Benito Juárez,
the president,
el mejor presidente
Benito
de
Juarez,
México,
the best president of Mexico,
recibió
he received
una invaluable ayuda
an
de Abraham
invaluable
Lincoln
help from Abraham Lincoln
contra
in
los
his fight
invasores
against
franceses.
from the French
En otros
invaders.
momentos,
And in other times,
Estados Unidos
the U.S.
dio refugio
gave us
a
refuge
próceres de nuestra historia,
to times
como
of our
Mariano
history,
Escobedo,
like
Vicente
Mariano
Riva
Escobedo,
Palacio
Arriba
Francisco y
Palacio,
Madero,
Francisco
y
Madero,
José Vasconcelos.
and Jose
No
Vasconcelos.
se nos olvida
We do not forget
que desconocieron al
that-
usurpador
that they
Victoriano
did not
Huerta
recognize the
en
usurper
1913,
Victoriano Huerta in
quien se había hecho del poder
1913,
tras un
who
golpe de
took
Estado.
the power by
Más aún,
overtaking the state.
muchos periodistas
And also a lot of newspaper
críticos
and directors, social and political,
optaron
opted
por combatir a la dictadura
to
porfirista
combat the
desde
porphyria
el territorio estadounidense
from the U.S.
para poner a salvo sus
to
vidas,
save their
porque en
lives.
ese entonces,
Because at that time,
mientras en Estados Unidos
while in the
se
U.S.,
aplicaba la ley
there was a
y se
law
les castigaba con cárcel,
that they would either
en
put them
México,
in jail,
desgraciadamente,
and
se
in
les
Mexico,
tiroteaba por la espalda,
they
se
would
les aplicaba la famosa y terrible ley fuga.
apply the law of
Como aquí se ha dicho, los
someone who's
gobiernos
fugitive. And later the
de
governments
Franklin Roosevelt
from Franklin Delano Roosevelt and Lázaro
mantuvieron
Cárdenas
relaciones ejemplares
maintained relationship that
de la
was
expropiación
exemplary,
petrolera
even though there was an expropriation of
unos
petroleum in
años después.
1938. A few
México
years after
peleó
that,
al lado de
Mexico
Estados
fought
Unidos
next
en la
side
Segunda
by
Guerra
side
Mundial,
with the
no
U.S.
solo
in the
por
Second
los
World War,
aviadores
not only with the aviators,
heroicos mexicanos
heroic
del
Mexicans
escuadrón
of the squadron
201 que
2000
combatieron en el
201
Pacífico,
that combated in the Pacific, but
enviando
also
en ese entonces
at that time
al país
sending
vecino
to the
a
neighbor
trabajadores
country
rancheros
people,
que
worker,
contribuyeron a garantizar
field
la
workers that
producción de
contributed
alimentos y
to the
materias primas en Estados Unidos.
food and
A mediados
creating prime
del siglo
materials.
pasado,
The
la
middle of the
tecnología y los bienes de capital
past
procedentes
century,
de nuestros vecinos del norte
the technical
fueron
advances were
para el
fundamental
proceso de industrialización
for the process of
impulsado en nuestro
industrialization
país.
that was
Hacia
pers-
los años
propelled in our country.
1960,
in the years of
dieron comienzo
1960
los programas para el desarrollo
began the development of the programs of
con el
the
apoyo
North with the
progresivo, comercial
progressive
y
commercial
bilateral
bilateral
con el crecimiento de nuestra economía.
for the growth of our country, and
Las
in there,
empresas de Estados Unidos encontraron
and the companies of the
una
U.S.
atractiva
found
zona
an
de inversión en
attractive
nuestro
zone
país.
of
Casi todas las
investment in our
grandes
country,
corporaciones
and most of these
establecieron
big
filiales
corporations
en nuestras ciudades.
put some extensions in our cities.
1993,
1993, both
además
countries
de Canadá,
and
firmaron un
Canada
tratado de libre
signed
comercio
the Free
de América
Commerce
del Norte,
Agreement from
por lo
North
que se
America,
constituyó
which
uno de los
constituted
principales
one of
bloques
the
económicos
principal
del mundo.
blocks of
1995,
commerce in the world. In
el gobierno de
1995,
Washington otorgó
the government
un
of
apoyo
Washington
financiero extraordinario
gave a
para superar
extraordinary assistance to help with a
económica, la
economic
devaluación del
crisis
peso,
and the
la crisis
devaluation
financiera que se
of the
presentó al
peso,
concluir
the crisis,
de
financial
Carlos
crisis
Salinas e iniciar
after
la de
Salinas,
Ernesto Zedillo.
Carlos
Una
Salinas, and the beginning of Cedillo.
Consecuencias
One of the
de la
consequences,
imposición del modelo neoliberal
which from the imposition of the
fue la
neoliberal,
expulsión masiva
was the
de
expulsion
población
of
de sus lugares de origen,
people
la
from
pérdida de
their
empleos, en una
their
industria
native origin, the loss of jobs
desmantelada
from a
cuando decían
industry that was
la
dismantled,
mejor
when they said
política industrial
that the best political
era la que
industry
no
was the one
existía.
did not
Y
exist.
con ello,
And with
con
that,
el abandono de las
they
actividades productivas económicas
abandoned
en la ciudad,
productive jobs in the city and the fields,
flujo
and
de
the
refugiados económicos
and there was an influx of
como nunca. Tuvieron que
refugees,
irse a buscar la vida del otro
and
lado de
they
la frontera.
had to go to the other side to look,
Millones de mexicanos,
millions of Mexicans to the other side of the border.
compatriotas,
Many
nuestros
patriots
cruzaron el río Bravo en busca
crossed the
de
Rio
subsistencia
Bravo
económica
to
y de mejores
get their
horizontes de
life
vida,
and better
tuvieron
horizons,
de enfrentar
and they
la
had to confront
los
discrimination,
atropellos
the
y la persecución policial.
persecution and abuse from police.
Y eso
But
no
also,
debemos
and we should not forget it,
se registraron
but they also registered
manifestaciones
lots
de
of
apoyo
manifestations
y
of
solidaridad
support and
de una
solidarity
buena parte de la
on a
sociedad
very good part of the
estadounidense.
United States
En la
people.
actualidad,
In actuality,
Estados Unidos tiene una
the
comunidad
United States
mexicana
has a community of Mexicans formed by 36 million people,
de las cuales
of which
15 millones
15 million are born in Mexico.
Esa población
That
realiza
people
un aporte fundamental a la economía
are a fundamental part of the economy and the culture of the neighbor, and its political participation there is more relevant. In it, we find more than 1 million of learners, and besides that, Mexicans are 30% of agricultural labor in the U.S. 20% of the jobs are in construction. 15% is in tourist industry. And its counterpart, those patriots contribute to the Mexican economy money in the amount $33 million annually. A piece of data that's hardly ever is in Mexico, 1,200,000 are citizens. Both our countries are in the largest exchange, demographic exchange in the world. And also our neighbor nation constitutes the major merchandise that we sell that are produced in Mexico. ours,
Nuestra nación es
our
también el
nation
mercado
is
más
doing well in the
importante
market, is also
para
very
las
important
exportaciones
for
de
exportation
Estados Unidos.
to the United
Es
States.
en este contexto
It is in this context
de la conclusión del
and
tratado
pending the
de
conclusion
México, Estados Unidos y Canadá
from the
que se
contract of the
presenta la decisión
three countries that they
unilateral
present the
del
decision
presidente Donald Trump de
unilateral
imponer un arancel
to impose
generalizado y
a
progresivo a las
tariff
exportaciones
by
mexicanas
Mr.
a
Trump
Estados Unidos.
to put a tariff on the Mexican people.
De una medida
It was a measure that we respect, but we didn't agree with,
porque de aplicarse,
because if it were applied, it would have
como
caused,
aquí se ha dicho,
as
un
it
daño
said here,
importante
a
en ambas
important
economías
damage to both
y
economies,
afectado
and it would have
de forma
debilitated
significativa
in very significant forms the alliance
de la región.
of the commercial alliance of the
Desde
region.
el principio
But
hicimos
fortunately,
propuestas al
we
gobierno estadounidense
we kept
para
making
resolver de fondo el fenómeno migratorio y eso
proposals that they would
en las intensas
help the
negociaciones
migration,
que se celebraron en Washington.
and that was part of what helped with the situation in Washington. And yesterday, to come to the agreement that they will now have a political respect with the U.S. and fraternity with its people. And we took advantage of the time here in Tijuana to say to the United States people one more time that we do not cover intention of any kind to harm us, and we are resolved to collaborate with them in every areas, but especially the preoccupation that we have with the migration influx to their country. So we ask for their comprehension, because that migration is not from nothing. It originates due to the material necessities and insecurity of the Central American countries and the sectors and regions that are margined in Mexico, where there's humans that need to travel to mitigate their hunger and their poverty, or to preserve their lives. So we expressed that we will resolve the phenomenon, the migration, by attacking its profound causes, that is to say, by improving development and to construct peace and well-being. And in Mexico we are already doing it, but we want to help to do this in Central America, in the Caribbean. It's very indispensable. It's important that the countries, that developed countries like U.S. and Canada and other countries, of 521 migrants that entered our country from the south border in the course of this year, with the intention to go to the U.S. 159,395 are minors, and 43,875 girls and boys were traveling alone. It's clear that before this bitter reality and painful reality, you cannot confront it, the solution, as only to close the borders or to utilize measures that are forcible. The most effective thing and the most human thing is to confront the migration, by combating the inability to have jobs, so that immigration will be optional and not forced. In consequence, we confirm and reaffirm that we will try to prevent that the migrants will travel through our country into the U.S. government, but we will never do it by violating human rights of the travelers, beginning with the principal rights, the rights to live free of misery and the right to life. Under this criteria, we will sustain always. It would always be unjust to pretend to castigate Mexico for proposing a migration to Mexico by helping to help the point of origin and to encourage fraternity between the cities and the peoples. We celebrate the important agreement of yesterday because it was being placed in such a situation that was very difficult and uncomfortable, that of applying to certain merchandise of the United States the same measures, restrictions, commercial, similar, the same as they were going to impose to the exports of Mexican merchandise. I confess that as a person, a citizen, I refuse the acts of repression and the law of talion. I am a pacifist, convinced and inspired in the examples of Gandhi, of Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela. On the other hand, as representative of the United Mexican States, I cannot permit anyone to attempt to go against the economy of our country, and much less that they establish a symmetry that's unjust and undignified and humiliating for our nation. Fortunately, yesterday, the politics was used instead of confrontation, and I can appreciate that there was good will to negotiate on the part of Donald Trump and his principal collaborators. I am assured that President Donald Trump, that's why I do not raise a fist to you, but an open hand and truthful or frank. And I reiterate our disposition to friendship, to dialogue, and to collaboration. We manifest also our determination to maintain ourselves to the margin for our neighbor countries, and that's close to us at the same time. Our neighbor that is close is U.S. In conjunction with our politic of no intervention, of utter determination of the people, that there not be involvement
de nuestro pueblo.
of other people that belong to the sovereignty of our people.
País y al mismo tiempo
Oh my
con
gosh.
mucha madurez política
And at the same time, with lots of,
preservar la amistad
we need to preserve the friendship with the people of the United States.
que sigue,
So what's next?
cumplir puntualmente los
To
compromisos.
comply
Los
with
compromisos se cumplen.
the commitments,
Reforzar nuestra frontera,
to reinforce our border and apply the law,
respetar
and
los derechos humanos,
and to respect human rights,
promover
to
la
promote
aplicación
the
inmediata del
application
programa de desarrollo
immediate
de la CEPAL para
of the
impulsar las
um,
actividades productivas
development
y
to
crear
create
empleos en
productive
Centroamérica y en el sur
jobs
sureste de México.
in the south of Mexico.
Desde la semana próxima
From next week,
estaremos ofreciendo
we will be offering
ayuda humanitaria,
humanitarian help,
oportunidades de empleo,
opportunities for work,
educación, salud y
education,
bienestar
and
a quienes
well-being
esperen en México
of those
su
who
solicitud
stay.
de asilo para ingresar legalmente a los Estados Unidos.
So he says that if they apply to get asylum in the U.S. legally, then they will provide all the things they offered, such as jobs, education, and welfare.
Agrego
I add to
que
this
existen condiciones
that there are conditions, political conditions,
inmejorables
that cannot be made any better
en
for
tiempo y forma
time and form.
a el Estado de Derecho que prevalece en el país con autonomía a los poderes. Puedo
I
decir
can say
que
that
estoy casi seguro
I am almost
de
certain
la ratificación en la
of
Cámara
the
de
ratification for
Senadores
this
del Tratado de Libre
of the
Comercio
Treaty of
entre
Free
México,
Commerce between
Estados Unidos
U.S.
y
and
Canadá.
Canada and Mexico.
Amigas y amigos,
Friends,
hoy, como lo he hecho durante muchos años,
today, as I've done many years, I'm going to continue to go through the municipal areas of Baja California.
ahora
Today,
son nuestros anfitriones,
today
son los que
they're the ones
nos
that
permitieron
permitted
llevar a
us
cabo aquí donde
to
comienza
come
nuestra
here
patria,
and
este acto
do this act here in the beginning of our land, this act of unity. For this
fue esta convocatoria.
is what this
De nueva
convention was.
cuenta agradezco a
And
todos los
I-
sectores, representantes
I am thankful to all the sectors and
del pueblo de
representatives
México por su
of the
apoyo.
people of Mexico for their support and solidarity.
Le agradezco
I
mucho
appreciate very much,
a los medios de comunicación
and
de
I
nuestro
appreciate the
país.
media of communication of our country,
Tener
that
diferencias,
even though sometimes we have
porque
differences,
vivimos
because we
en un
live
país libre y
in a
aspiramos
free
a
country,
una democracia,
we
no
assure
una dictadura,
democracy and not a
y tiene que
dictatorship,
garantizarse
and
siempre
we
el derecho a
guarantee
disentir, a
the
pesar
right to dissent,
diferencias
even with
de
differences
información en
of
nuestro país
media
se
of
portaron a la altura
behaved.
de las circunstancias.
They behaved to the height of the circumstances.
Amigas y amigos,
Friends,
como todos lo sabemos,
as we all know,
esto es
this was
de dominio público.
a public dominion.
México es un país
Mexico is a
con muchas
country of many
riquezas naturales,
natural riches,
con un pueblo noble
with a people that's noble
y trabajador.
and hardworking.
Tenemos
And
la
we have
herencia
the
de
inheritance
grandes civilizaciones
of great
y de
civilizations
culturas
and cultures
practicantes
and practices
de una ética social
of ethical society that's extraordinary,
que nos han
that has
dejado el
left
hábito.
us the habit
Así nos han
like this.
heredado el hábito del trabajo.
the habit of
Los
work.
mejores trabajadores en Estados Unidos son los
The best workers
mexicanos.
in the United States are the Mexicans.
Y
And
nos heredaron
they
como enseñanza
they
mayor
were given us an inheritance
nuestros
as a greater
antepasados, el poner
inheritance
por delante
to always put
el
forward
amor al prójimo,
love for our neighbors,
la ayuda mutua.
mutual help.
¿De dónde viene
Where does that come from?
lo de la ayuda mutua?
For mutual
De
help
los pueblos
from the people,
originarios,
from the original people, from the communities of the
viene de
indigents.
lejos,
It comes from
del
far,
México profundo.
from the profound Mexico, the deep Mexico.
Y ¿se
And
acuerdan lo que nos repetían?
do you remember what they used to tell us, our parents and our grandparents, what they used to say
En los pueblos,
in the
corría
towns
de boca en boca,
from mouth to mouth?
decían,
They used to
hacer el
say
bien,
to do
sin
good
mirar a quién.
without looking to whom it was done. Do you remember when we used to say that?
Eso entraña
That's
toda la grandeza
what shows
de
the
nuestro
greatness of our
país, de
country,
nuestra gran nación.
of our great
Y a
nation.
pesar
That
de nuestras diferencias,
besides all our differences, as we
esta
demonstrated
semana,
in this week,
en estos días,
in these days,
actuamos, como aquí
We-
se ha dicho también,
we acted as if though here it
sin
was said,
odios,
together
con
without
honestidad,
hate, with
con
honesty,
humanismo,
with
y
humanism,
sentido de la justicia,
and with a sense of
seremos
justice.
cada vez
We
más
will
fuertes
always be
en el
stronger
concierto de las naciones,
in the concert of the nations,
siempre capaces
and always
de
capable
remontar
of
cualquier adversidad
to fight
para
any
consumar
adversity,
más temprano que tarde
to
el gran
to
objetivo
to
de
gain our
construir
great objective
nueva,
to create a new
próspera,
country that's
pacífica y
prosperous,
fraterna, en la
pacific,
que reine
peaceful,
por
and fraternity,
siempre
and that always will reign
ideal
the
del
ideal
bienestar,
of
de la felicidad
well-being and
del
happiness
pueblo.
of
¡Que
the
viva
people.
México!
Let Mexico live.
¡Viva México!
Long live Mexico.
¡Viva México!
Long live Mexico. All right, it's over. Oh my word. All right, you guys. So that's what happened in Tijuana. And I told you I would be like a day behind, and I was a little bit late on this because I had a lot going on. But fortunately, it's done, and hopefully, it recorded well. And I know I got a little behind there. I'm a little bit tired, but hopefully, I can maybe edit it or fix it. But in any case, you got the general idea. Anyway, I tried to fix it when I messed up. All right, have a great day. Bye.